Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to my channel. This is Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and this video is going to be all about the super full moon on June 14th, and the moon is in Sagittarius. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This is Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and I'm coming to you to speak about the full moon in Sagittarius on June 14th. This will be an excellent moon for peace negotiations, support of the most high-minded humanitarian causes, and generally raising the vibration of our planet. Plus, Sag is just a really fun full moon that begins our summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. The full moon will actually take place at 23 degrees Sagittarius, 24 minutes on June 14th, 2022 at 7:52 a.m. EDT. Now, the sign Sagittarius is male. It's the element of fire. It's mutable, and it's ruled by the planet Jupiter. And the full moon, as we all know, is a great time. It is a time of culminating energy, of yin and yang energy, as the sun and the moon stand across from each other in the sky. It's a time when you can really deal with unresolved issues because that yin-yang energy will kind of force you to look at them. It will shine a light on the darkness, so it's an excellent time to identify what needs to have shadow work done on it, but also to just feel your feelings and understand what really needs to be worked on. The full moon is a great time to let go of negative patterns and toxic thoughts. Of course, you have to identify these before you can let go of them, and that's where the shining a light on the darkness comes in. It's also a very good time to work on releasing wasted emotions, and these are guilt, fear, jealousy, and disappointment. When the moon is in Sagittarius, we are optimistic, philosophical, spontaneous. We like to go big. We search for the truth. And we kind of need a goal in order to get all these things done. Now, who do we know who is a celebrity who actually has their moon in Sagittarius? Nicole Kidman. I love this picture of her. It just epitomizes that Sagittarian freedom and wildness. And Nicole Kidman also happens to have her birthday on June 20th, the day before the summer solstice. So she really epitomizes this time of year as well. Now let's look at the retrograde planets. The first planet that we're going to talk about is Saturn retrograde, which is at 25 degrees 10 minutes Aquarius. So when Saturn is retrograde, the big planet kind of goes to sleep a little bit. And so all of the structures and restrictions of Saturn tend to loosen up. Pluto is retrograde at 28:08 Capricorn. And when this tiny planet goes to sleep, it means that the power struggles and the power plays get a rest for a little while. Now let's talk about the other planetary placements on June 14th. For all the aspects that involve the sun and the moon, the sun will be at 23 degrees of Gemini, 25 minutes, and the moon will be at 23 degrees, 24 minutes of Sagittarius. So first let's talk about the sun trine Saturn. Saturn is at 25 degrees Aquarius, 10 minutes retrograde. So this aspect will give confidence to people in a highly structured way. People will feel or see that governments and large organizations are doing the right thing. Now, highly organized structures and very organized areas of endeavor such as engineering, science, and mathematics will be the focus now, and all of those areas will experience progress and publicity. They will be working hard and responsibly. Next, we have the Sun square Neptune. Now, with this aspect, people will feel that they need to sacrifice themselves on behalf of others. These individuals may be easily manipulated or cheated. So take care with substances such as alcohol and drugs around them at this time. And also take care if you know that they are actually a person that can be normally manipulated or taken advantage of, then try to shield them from any kind of individuals who might take advantage of that. The next aspect is Moon trine Mars. And here we have Mars at 15 degrees 8 minutes of Aries. This is feminine and masculine energy joining together to create a practical, constructive urge. Problems are easily solved as there's an abundance of goodwill during this window of time when the masculine and feminine energies relate to and understand each other in a unique way. Next, we have the moon sextile Saturn. Saturn, again, is at 25 degrees Aquarius, 10 minutes retrograde. Emotions will be stabilized by this aspect. This is good for families to come together and do things. The family unit will feel reliable, stable, and comforting, although for some, for the more Sagittarian bent people, it may feel too constricting. Then we have the moon square Neptune. Neptune again at 25 degrees 23 Pisces. The desire for spiritual transcendence may push some individuals into a search for the cult guru. This urge is to find meaning in life and the answer to, why am I here? This can lead to confusion and unrealistic desires. However, those in the mind-probing professions, psychiatrists, psychologists, analysts, may find this a revelatory period where issues and diagnoses are revealed. Then we have Mercury square Saturn. Mercury will be at 0 degrees 39 Gemini, and Saturn will be at 25 degrees Aquarius, 10 retrograde. Your minds will be practical and focused on serious topics. Also, you will have the ability to concentrate for long periods of time. Next, Mercury is trine Pluto. Mercury is at 0 degrees 39 Gemini. Pluto is at 28 degrees 8 minutes Capricorn. This means that opinions will be strong and strong will be at play here. So look for interesting and thought-provoking conversations that could lead to amazing new concepts and designs. Then comes Venus squaring Saturn, Venus being at 19 degrees 52 minutes Taurus, and Saturn being at 25 degrees Aquarius, 10 minutes retrograde. This is a transit that encourages beautiful yet constrained developments. This could apply to negotiations or buildings or organizations. The Venus urge to create beautiful things aligns with the conservative, serious structure of Saturn to bring us to a mature understanding of what is required in the moment. And I also think that this full moon will help some mature artist create their greatest work ever. Next, we have Venus conjunct Uranus, and this supports my statement that somebody will create their life's work under this beautiful artistic transit. Venus will be conjunct Saturn at 19 degrees 52 minutes Taurus for Venus and 16 degrees 59 minutes Taurus for Uranus. This brings emotional independence, and that becomes a priority. The freedom in all emotional situations may cause some to break free from confining relationships and express what they think are their true feelings. Seeking freedom may cause some to give up relationships prematurely without a concrete reason. They will be fascinated and attracted to technology. But Uranus is also brilliance and spiritual enlightenment and inspiration. So when Venus conjuncts Uranus, that's why I say that some mature artist is going to create their most spectacular work ever under the auspices of this transit. And then we have Neptune sextile Pluto, Neptune at 2523 Pisces, Pluto at 2808 Capricorn retrograde. This is a very long-lasting transit. We've been talking about this one since last month, but it fosters peacemaking attitudes. It's an aspect that will work with other planetary energies to bring out more peace and transformation on the planet. And that's why I opened with the statement that this full moon will raise the vibration of the planet and that it's good for peace negotiations. And this brings us to the chart of the full moon. As you can see, here's the moon and the sun across the sky from each other. Here's Saturn in this beautiful trine here and sextile to the moon. Here's Neptune making its aspects to the moon and the sun. Here's Jupiter and here's Mars, Mars making an aspect to the moon. So all of these planets are really factoring on the left side of the chart, or the eastern hemisphere of the chart. And the eastern hemisphere of the chart is more concerned with self. So the planets right here are not as concerned with other people. However, the moon is in the ninth house of this chart. And I'm pretty sure that they put Aries rising here because they used the exact time of the full moon. So this is for my place on the planet. It has an Aries rising. I'm not sure that this is the same chart that I'm pretty sure we won't have the same chart in Europe, say for Ukraine. But this may be the same, very similar chart to what we have in Washington, D.C., where we would have the moon in the ninth house. And Sagittarius is a very good sign for the United States. So I do think this is going to be a good chart that will have a positive influence on foreign policy for the United States, at least a powerful influence on foreign policy. All right, so moving along, we're going to begin our predictions for each sign. Let's start with the fire signs. And the first one up is Sagittarius because it's your moon. So you will have the moon in the first house. And this is going to give you a feeling of newness, of being reborn. Sagittarius, you're a philosophical yet very dramatic sign. So when the moon is in your first house in its full moon phase, you get a lot of energy from your partner, and you get a lot of energy from what you perceive is strength in your partner. Also, if there are little chinks in the armor as far as your relationship goes, those may start to show up during a full moon. However, this full moon has a lot of aspects with Neptune. So things about the difficulties in your relationship may tend to get glossed over at this time due to Neptune. There is a lot of sexual energy at this time, as well as artistic energy and the desire and motivation to really build something. So if you and your partner decide that you do really want to work on your relationship, this is an excellent time to do it. Mercury and Saturn give you lots of good ideas about how to work on the relationship. So I have really high hopes that whatever you're doing is going to work out. Now let's move on to Aries. Aries, this full moon falls in your ninth house to your third house. So you're really focusing on learning and ideas, foreign countries, travel, doing something that's far out, that's out of this world. And as usual, this time of year, when you have the Sag moon, you want to be on the move. So travel is definitely going to be on the horizon for you, Aries. Whether you can afford it or not, you're going to want to do it. Now, you do have your Mars right now and Jupiter and Chiron in your first house. So that's going to give you big inspiration, big motivation to get on with something. But let's keep in mind that a lot of the aspects give great sexual tension, but also a lot of artistic energy as well. Saturn is the calming influence over all of this and allows you to focus all of that Mars energy with Venus and Uranus to create something really beautiful. So Aries, you may be really trying to create something, maybe even a new mode of transportation to take you out of this world. So it's kind of It isn't really dreamy, but I do think there's going to be some aspects of your project that you may want to overlook, and that's due to Neptune. So just make sure that your plans are sound and that they make sense mechanically before getting into that new car. Okay, let's move on to Leo. Leo, this full moon is actually in your fifth house, and the sun is in your 11th house. So, your focus on this full moon is going to be on having fun, games of chance, group activities, groups in general, and your goals and dreams for life. You've got a lot of beautiful, creative, artistic energy and quite a bit of sexual energy right now. So you and your partner are probably going to have a great time on this full moon, but you're also going to be trying to create something that is usable either for children or for some sort of group or networking organization that you're a part of. You will be a lead designer in this. Just make sure that your plans are not too out of this world as to not be practical and something that you can actually physically pull off. Neptune is in there pretty strongly. But you also have some great aspects between Mars and Saturn that give you a lot of energy, the determination to see the project through, and also the ability to focus and work really hard for long periods of time. So I have high hopes for this, Leo. The Sag moon is a trine to your sun or rising sign. And so I think you're going to have a great time with this full moon. Now let's move on to the earth signs. Taurus is our first earth sign, and this Sagittarius full moon is in your eighth house, and the sun is in your second house. So this is putting a focus on what else, Taurus? Your money and resources. Now, the eighth house is your joint resources, but it also rules sex, death, and taxes, also things that are just kind of hidden and occult. So, metaphysical things like astrology and spirituality. Now, usually people look at the 12th and the ninth houses for spirituality, but I also think that people who are extremely interested in metaphysics perhaps have some other reason for that from past lives. And I think it's perfectly valid to begin your spiritual quest by taking on metaphysical subjects. So, this full moon, you may be really digging into all of those things that were fascinating to you as a child. Maybe it was runes, maybe shells, maybe a pendulum, maybe numerology, maybe reading clouds or scrying or palmistry or tea leaves, anything like that that takes you a little bit out of yourself and allows you to tap into your intuition and to see what might be coming up in the future. Metaphysics is not only about divination, however, it can also be about raising your vibration and just generally trying to get yourself closer to divinity. With the sun sitting in your second house during this full moon, you will find that there's going to be an emphasis on your resources. Now, this doesn't only mean money, Taurus. This can also mean your talents. What skills do you have? Astrologers often read the second house as the money house, but that isn't necessarily true. It's also what do we value, and most importantly, how do we value ourselves? So, Taurus, you're pretty good at putting a good value on yourself. Most of the Taurians that I know have good self esteem and they understand their worth, but you may be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't quite understand their worth. So you may be trying to help your partner understand their worth at the time of this full moon. The moon in your eighth house doesn't necessarily put a focus on your partner, but the full moon does. When it's standing across the sky from the sun, that definitely speaks to partnership. And a lot of the things and issues in your partnership may come down to how much each of you value each other and yourselves. You've got wonderful energy from Venus, Pluto, Saturn, and Mars in this configuration. So there's lots of sexual energy here. There's lots of artistic energy. And there's also, with Saturn and Mars, a tremendous amount of energy going towards whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. You'll be able to concentrate for long periods of time. You'll be able to communicate really, really well with Mercury and Pluto involved. And you'll be able to put structure and just use your energy in a very practical, constructive, orderly way during this full moon. All right, let's move on to Virgo. So, Virgo, this full moon actually takes place in your fourth house, and the sun will be in your 10th house. Now, the fourth house is the real estate that you live in, the home, the family structure. It's also known as the house of the beginning and end of life. When you have a full moon here, it really brings that home because one looks at their career and sort of assesses, how much does this mean to me? How important is this? And with the tension at the time of the full moon, you may be really shining a light on the dark side of your career. What is it about my career and my accomplishments in my life that I feel are lacking that I would like to improve at this time? Now, you also have a lot of energy from the other planets influencing this full moon. So there's a tremendous amount of sexual energy, but also artistic energy. And when you apply those energies to your family, to your real estate, and to your career, you may find that you're changing your goals. Your family structure may have changed in the last few years. You may be feeling like the things that were making you happy and moving you forward 4 or 5 years ago are no longer serving you, and it may be causing you to reassess whether you really want to stay in the career and on the career path that you're on, or maybe you want to change it. So, this full moon may be the beginning of you making tremendous changes in your life in general. Saturn and Mars give you a lot of energy to do this analysis, as does Mercury and Pluto. It gives you the energy to really concentrate for long periods of time on this issue and also to see it through. So I really see, Virgo, that you're taking this full moon very seriously and you're using the energy to really focus on how does what I do in my career really benefit my family and fulfill my mission in life and what I want to do. All right, the next sign up is Capricorn. Capricorn, this full moon is going to fall in your 12th house with the sun being in the 6th house. So your focus is going to be on your body, your health, somewhat on the job that you do every day, but very much on your subconscious and sleep and things that you do to possibly sabotage yourself. So with the full moon there in the 12th house, I'm going to say that there are times when you do things that just aren't really good for you, but you do them anyway. They're habits. So moon often represents habits. So during this full moon, it's going to shine a light on the things that you do that really mess you up. Like, do you go too long in between working out and then you find that your body's too stiff to move when you need it to move? Or do you eat the wrong things day after day and then you find that your digestive tract just doesn't feel very good after a few days? Things like that. That's what's going to come to light during this full moon. Now, the good news is that you have wonderful planetary support during this full moon to identify these issues and make some changes. Mercury and Pluto will definitely be working on your higher mind to really help your thinking process along these lines, help you to identify these things, and also to identify solutions to these dilemmas. Also, you've got Saturn and Mars, which are really helping you work diligently on the actual process that you're trying to implement in your life, and also that you will be able to work for long periods of time towards it. So if this means that you need to take a recuperative break and maybe work out less but work out more frequently just to get yourself back into the groove, or if you maybe need to cut things out of your diet, you're going to do it on a methodical basis, and you're going to keep doing it, and you'll probably able to keep this up because Saturn is involved. Now, even though Saturn is retrograde, it's not going to stop your progress. It's going to allow you to be more forgiving if you make a mistake or if you skip a day, which is really good for you, Capricorn, because sometimes you're just way too hard on yourself. Also, the Neptune influences don't hurt here because you're able to sort of gloss over some things. And most of the time, you're so nitpicky and hard on yourself, that once you make one mistake, you want to throw in the towel on everything. And that just makes the next time you get up to do something that much harder. So try to be a little easier on yourself, Capricorn, and you'll have a good full moon. All right, let's move on now to the air signs. And the first air sign up is Gemini. Gemini, you have this full moon in your seventh house. That means that this full moon is focusing on partnership because the sun's going to be in your first house. So the full moon, the sensitive part, the feminine part, is your partner. And this is where the sun is shining a light, perhaps on things that you may or may not have been doing for your partner that your partner really, really needs. Now, the good news is that all the other planetary arrangements are quite positive for this full moon. So if there is anything amiss, you will be able to rectify it very, very well. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite signs, but they're both very friendly signs and friendly with one another. For one thing, they both love variety. They're both mutable signs and they love for things to change. And that's really good in relationships if you need things to change. Now, there's lots of good sexual energy here for your relationship. There's also lots of good artistic energy here and energy for some inspiration and for some real dedicated study and work on any sort of problems that you may be having in your relationship. Or it could be just that your partner is having a problem and you want to help them fix it. So if you can take a very supportive and nurturing attitude towards your partner during this full moon, I have great hopes that you're going to be able to help one another and work things out in a really positive way. Remember that this full moon has some beautiful aspects from Neptune that while some of them can be difficult to deal with, the overall vibe of this is that it's raising the vibration. So I think it's going to be really good for your relationship and for exposing any weaknesses that are happening that you can correct right now. All right, let's move on to Libra. Libra, this full moon is happening in your third house and the sun is in your ninth house. So this means that you're focusing on ideas and education, on small children or younger children, your siblings, your neighborhood, but also on the world at large and on things that you might do that impact the masses. So right now, you're looking at, what is my message? What is the message that I want to give out to people? And so you're focusing on your siblings and your community. You're asking their advice. You're taking a poll. You're taking the pulse. You're trying to figure out in your little world what's really meaningful for you and for your community, whatever that community is. And then you're taking that message and extrapolating out to the world. How do I want to send this out to the world? How do I want to market this to the world? How do I want to live my life, do my career, raise my kids, whatever, to show that this is my philosophy and my message to the world? You also have a lot of influences, the planets that is, going on, settling in on your seventh and eighth house. So that whole quadrant from the seventh, eighth, ninth is really lit up with this full moon for you. There's good sexual energy there. There's lots of good artistic energy there. And I do feel like there's a possibility for some great accomplishments happening during this full moon. It's going to engage you and your partner possibly, but I do think that you're going to embark on a new way of branding yourself in some way that is more fulfilling to you. So here we have Aquarius. This full moon is happening in your 11th house. What fun for you. So having a Sag moon in your 11th house is really a joy because Sagittarius loves a party and the 11th house is all about a party. So you are going to be focusing on groups, your desires and goals for your life. And the sun will be in your 5th house. So that's the house for fun and children and sports. So as you look at your 11th house, you may be reassessing the goals that you have had for the rest of this part of your life. You may not be near retirement. So whatever is the next decade or so of your life is what you're looking at in the 11th house. And you will be changing. The moon is changeable. So that's what usually happens with the full moon is it becomes an area in your chart where you think you might make some changes. Now, you may not be throwing the whole idea out of whatever mission you're on right now. You may just be altering it a little bit. The fifth house has more to do with children and fun and sports and love affairs. And there is a lot of good sexual tension and artistic or love tension going on with the planetary arrangements surrounding this full moon. So I wouldn't be surprised, Aquarius, if there was some sort of magical love affair thing happening for you for the full moon. Also, the third and fourth houses are involved with the planets. So you're going to be doing something where you are letting folks know that you're open for an adventure of some kind. You want to have fun. This adventure may involve travel. It may involve just going out with a group. It may just be social, but you're looking at your goals in life, and the groups that you're a part of are representative to you of the goals you have in life. So, for instance, if you want to be a world traveler, you may be a part of a group that practices conversational French or Russian or Spanish or something, so that when you go to these countries, you can speak like a native, things like that. So it's going to impact the group. It's going to impact your goals and your future. And it's also going to be fun. That's the thing, Aquarius, is the fifth house is all about having fun. It could involve children, but I think the way the aspects are lining up for this full moon, it probably does not at this time. All righty, let's move on to the water signs. Here is Cancer. So Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 6th house and the sun is in your 12th house. So you're really going to be focusing on your own body and health, as well as the people that you work with. The 12th house is all about self-sabotage, sacrifice, people who are forgotten, things in your subconscious, things in your dreams, and that's where the sun is. So for you, Cancer, having the sun in the 12th house during this full moon just means that that whole area of your life lights up. And that's an area that kind of interests you because you're a water sign, you're very intuitive. You can be a little moody about that, but that's because when you're really sensitive, you can get overstimulated by other people's energies. So Cancer, I'm guessing that almost all of you are empaths, and having the sun transit your 12th house is no laughing matter. But then when you have the full moon there too, across the sky on the 6th house, it really ups the sensitivity quotient. Now, having the sun in Gemini in the 12th house means it's active. There's a lot going on in your subconscious. So you may be having a lot of really weird dreams or just funny dreams, or you may be just having a lot of revelations about your intuition, about your connection to the divine. Or there could be somebody that you know and love who lives at a distance or lives in some sort of environment where you can't see them all the time, and you may want to communicate with them very, very badly. It could be that scenario or the more spiritual intuition scenario. It depends on you and your life and where you're at. Now, you also have planets that are inhabiting the 10th and 11th houses right now. So there is some emphasis on your career and your goals. And with the planetary emphasis there, I'm going to say that you have the opportunity to make some strides to perhaps produce an outstanding project that you can get lots of accolades for. And it may be powered by brilliance, by inspiration that seems to have come from the heavens. You have a lot of good sexual energy right now, so your relationships will just be on fire. You also have a lot of good artistic and stick-to-itiveness energy right now. Saturn and Mars are coming together right now in a very positive way. You can do problem solving. You can do long hours of concentrated study. You can come up with amazing solutions. It's just a really good planetary salad right now for you to get a lot of things done and also to solve some of your own personal problems. Scorpio. Scorpio. This full moon, this is very straightforward for me to talk about you. The moon is in the 2nd house. The sun is in the 8th house. These are two houses that you're very, very comfortable with. So with the moon in the second house, this means that you're really thinking about changing things up when it comes to your resources and finances. Now, it's the second house, as I said earlier, is not just the money house, but it is a house that deals with income that you get from a job. It also deals with your own talents and skills, streams of income, and how you value just things in life. How do you feel about things? How do you feel about yourself? Do you value yourself? Now, no offense, Scorpio, but I don't know many Scorpios who don't highly value themselves. They're very good at figuring out their own value. With the moon there, with the full moon, you will really put a spotlight on any weakness in that thought. So if there's anything that you're unsure of, if there's any piece of your monetary structure that is unsound or weak in any way, this full moon is going to shine a light on it, and you're going to know about it, and you're going to decide to change it. So that's a big focus. Now, the other focus with the sun being in the eighth house is that you're going to know that your joint resources will be affected by whatever changes you make in the second house. So if there's something like a 401k that you contribute to, or a vacation fund, or an IRA, or some kind of investment fund that you contribute to, the change in the second house income stuff may have a big impact on that. But the eighth house isn't only that. The eighth house is also sex, death, and taxes. So with the sex, there's good sexual energy at this full moon. So that part should be good. But death and taxes, that's another story. Now, this doesn't seem to be a time that I'm predicting that there's any kind of death coming around. But I do see that there's wonderful planetary energy for doing some study and research and really digging in there and figuring things out. Also, there's some wonderful artistic energy right now, Scorpio. So if you want to really be creative in figuring out all of your eighth house stuff, this is the time to do it. Do tons of research, like cryptocurrency. If you wanted to invest in cryptocurrency, this would be an excellent time for you to do a heavy duty research project on it. Really dig in there. You'll have plenty of energy to really concentrate for long periods of time, even to do hard work, manual labor for long periods of time, just over the time of this full moon. And lots of good Venus aspects too. So dig in there, Scorpio, see what you can figure out. And if you need to make changes, then you're the one who's going to be very confident about doing just that. Okay, Pisces. Pisces, you have this full moon in your 10th house. This is excellent, especially if you want to see your career improve. The spotlight is going to be on your 4th house to your 10th house axis. The sun will be in the 4th house, so there will be something wonderful going on with your family life. And the moon is in your 10th house. And the moon in the 10th house, while it is a planet that's very changeable, it's also very good for the public. So if you do anything in your career that has to do with the public, you will really shine at the time of this full moon. The other thing the moon is representative of, especially in the 10th house, is dealing with women. So if your career has anything to do with women, like women's products, fashion, things that women like to buy, like purses, clothes, shoes, anything that women buy, kitchen appliances, washers and dryers. And that's very sexist to just say that. But it is true that most women make the buying decisions for their family, especially when it comes to large appliances, all the way up to even cars. So that part's not sexist. That's proven. But if you have anything in your career that really depends on the favor of women, it's going to shine during this full moon. That's what I'm really trying to get across to you. You also have some good planetary energy happening in your 2nd and 3rd house, which is going to be great for your income and for your ideas, and also just for you with your own siblings and the community that you live in. The sexual energy during this full moon is very good, as is the artistic energy. So anything that you want to do to alter things in your career, or if you have a project in your career that's coming up that really requires diligent research, lots of long hours, concentrated study, or even just a lot of hard work for a period of time, a short period of time, this full moon gives you all of those ingredients. So you can really succeed, Pisces. So I think this is going to be a great full moon for you. All right. that is all of the signs. I've given a reading for everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really enjoy you being here, and I'm so happy that you're all my subscribers. Please leave me some comments down below. Let me know how these predictions hit you. Let me know what other kinds of videos you'd like to see me do, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.